W5.
I believe it's to blame for the extreme rage.
Abandoned warriors fight an unseen enemy.
My life feels like it's in shambles.
They poisoned a generation of their own soldiers.
These people suffered in hell every goddamn day, and nobody did anything about it.
CTV's W5 with Avery Haines, Rick Westhead, Peter Ackman, and Sandy Ronaldo. Here is Avery Haines.
Welcome to W5. They accuse the Canadian government of poisoning them while on missions in Somalia, Rwanda, and Afghanistan. 900 Canadian veterans have now signed up to an unprecedented legal action after being forced to take an inexpensive anti-malaria drug that they claim has destroyed their lives. And in a W5 exclusive, a Canadian hero, retired General Romeo Dallaire, has just added his name to the lawsuit, joining veterans like Richard Schumann, who say the drug nearly killed them.
I took a 9mm sidearm. I cocked the action. Then I put the barrel into my mouth. As I put my teeth down on the barrel, I remember feeling my finger on the trigger, and I was slowly squeezing the trigger, and I could hear the action starting to move back, and the action went off. Bang!
Richard Schumann is reliving a night of horror at the Canadian Forces military base in Kandahar, Afghanistan, July 19th, 2005.
I felt the bullet punch through the back of my neck. I felt the tear of the skin, and I could see the smoke coming out of the pistol. I could smell the gunpowder. And as I'm looking into the mirror, I'm wiggling my finger through the hole in the back of my neck. I can see the reflection in the mirror up through the hole in my neck of a farmer's field with cows grazing, saying to myself, well, this is no good. Now everybody's going to know I attempted suicide.
Richard Schumann did not attempt suicide that night. None of what he just described actually happened. It was a nightmare so vivid that Richard almost made it a reality.
When you wake up in the morning after this horrifying dream, you didn't realize how close you had come to actually taking your own life.
No, not at all. When my fire team partner woke me up. And at that point, I had my service rifle in my hand and the action cocked. If it wasn't for my fire team partner, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today, because I would have reenacted everything and spun that barrel into my mouth and killed myself in that tent. It wasn't the Taliban that was going to kill me. It was damn near me that took my own life because of a goddamn drug that they chose to poison us with.
They is the Canadian military. The drug is Mefloquine, designed to protect against a potentially deadly strain of malaria. It was issued to soldiers on missions where malaria was rampant: Somalia, Rwanda, and Afghanistan. Not only was it cheaper, it was more efficient. Soldiers only had to take a pill once a week instead of daily.
And this was when we were flying in for the first time to Afghanistan.
You look a little scared. You must have been scared.
I was petrified. I really was. But I mean, you know, I believed in what I knew. I believed in the training I had. I believed in everybody that was with us. But it's hard not to be afraid.
Yeah.
Amidst the photos and the commemorations, Richard has also kept his diary from the night he almost died by suicide.
3 nights ago, I tried to commit suicide. Time to see the doctor. Considering I have a rifle and 150 rounds for it, shit could get nasty.
Diary entries that document the drug's powerful side effects that he and others were experiencing.
28th of June, 2005, Mark woke up at 1:20, screamed at the top of his lungs, and it scared the shit right out of me. Yet again, he had another bad dream.
The immediate impact of taking Mefloquine was so well known that soldiers had special nicknames for the day of the week when they had to swallow the little white pill.
It was either Manic Monday, Terror Tuesday, Wacky Wednesday, or Fearful Friday, you know.
And what was happening on those days that were given names like Wacky Wednesday and Terror Tuesday?
The dreams were just so vile and so, so haunting. A lot of troops were lashing out and frustrated and very, very angry.
Night terrors, rage, paranoia, psychosis, searing stomach pains, all a result of taking Mefloquine, which is sold under the brand name Lariam. Some of the symptoms were even listed deep in the drug manufacturer's own warning label. But Richard Schumann says he was never told by his superiors about the potential for serious harm. And he claims the effects of the drug lasted long after he stopped taking them, more than a decade ago.
What are you experiencing right now that you attribute Mefloquine to?
I believe it's to blame for the extreme rage. I believe it's to blame for the tinnitus. I believe it's to blame for the vertigo. I believe it's to blame for me losing countless nights of sleep, being afraid to go to sleep.
The whole Mefloquine thing is a diabolical disaster.
Retired Sergeant Richard Schumann is not alone in his claims that the drug meant to protect him from malaria has destroyed his life.
I want to get better. I don't want these feelings at 3 o'clock in the morning.
One by one, former soldiers at this town hall in Kingston, Ontario, stand up to share their suffering.
I'm Sergeant Mike Rood, retired. 27 years ago, I took Mefloquine, and my life feels like it's in shambles, but...
This veteran drove across the country from Newfoundland to be here.
And thanks to Paul Miller and his team for taking the fight for us, because some of us can't do it anymore.
The person retired Sergeant Mike Rood is thanking and hugging is Paul Miller, one of the lawyers behind a massive and unprecedented legal action against not the manufacturer of the drug, Hoffmann-La, but against the Canadian government and the military who forced soldiers to take it.
Mefloquine always had side effects, including anxiety, depression, suicidal and homicidal thoughts, paranoia, delusions, and hallucinations. These side effects were not hidden by Hoffmann-La. That's why we are not suing Hoffmann-La.
Paul Miller has been holding town halls like these from coast to coast over the past few months, inviting veterans to take part in a mass tort, which is similar to a class action, but gives each veteran the right to accept or refuse any possible settlement. The legal action alleges the government has and continues to, on both an individual and systemic level, willfully deny and conceal the risks posed by Mefloquine.
What's your biggest legal challenge when it comes to taking on the Canadian government?
They're going to argue this is PTSD. This isn't from Mefloquine.
You're going to have to prove that the effects are caused by Mefloquine and not PTSD.
That's right. Now, there's going to be overlap, but there are telltale signs of Mefloquine toxicity PTSD does not have. Tinnitus is one. The gastrointestinal issues is another. The types of dreams could be another.
The drug may be marketed under the brand name Lariam, but Dr. Remington Nevin, a world expert on Mefloquine toxicity with Johns Hopkins University in the US, has another name for it.
You call it a horror movie in a pill.
I call it a horror movie in a pill for good reason, because the effects of this drug you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. But this would be a big issue scientifically.
Dr. Nevin meets regularly with veterans like these, sharing his decade of research. He's been called as an expert witness in lawsuits in the U.S., has testified before the British Parliament, and is the lead medical expert in this mass tort against the Canadian government.
What does the science say about Mefloquine toxicity?
Mefloquine is a neurotoxicant. We know that this drug injures and potentially even kills cells in the central nervous system.
Is it your medical belief that Mefloquine can cause permanent or long-lasting effects on the brain?
Yes, Mefloquine does cause permanent injury to the central nervous system in some individuals.
So far, some 3,000 veterans have expressed an interest in joining the mass tort. 900 have already signed their names to it, accusing the very government they were prepared to die in combat for of poisoning them. Richard Schumann is one of them.
I'm doing this for the loved ones of the ones that were lost, because so many of them don't have answers to why their partners killed themselves. These people took Mefloquine. These people suffered in hell every goddamn day, and nobody did anything about it.
One of those who suffered in hell is a Canadian military hero, retired General Romeo Dallaire, who led the 1994 UN peacekeeping mission in Rwanda and went on to be a champion for those suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, has now become the highest-ranking soldier to sign his name to this legal action.
Was there a moment when you were on mission in Rwanda where you realized, oh, there is something seriously wrong with me, and I believe it's the Mefloquine?
Sleeping was hard. Memory losses were coming up. Horrible stomach cramps. I mean, it was an impact that I considered serious enough that it was affecting my operational capability.
You're feeling so affected by Mefloquine when you're in Rwanda that you send a message to your bosses, say, hey, we got to stop this. What do they say to you?
That if I did not continue to take Mefloquine, it would be perceived as a self-inflicted wound, and I could be court-martialed.
They threatened you with court-martial if you refused to take it.
The message said that disciplinary action would be taken. Well, disciplinary action for a general is a court-martial. It was final.
A general leading an international peacekeeping mission threatened with court-martial.
I'm bringing the government to task by joining this and saying, hey, government entity, you have a covenant with me, and we believe you've got to pursue this and bring a solution to it. This is not me saying you're disloyal to me and you've abandoned me. It's saying, I think you're screwing up.
Coming up,
They manufacture doubt about the science.
was the military forcing a dangerous drug on its soldiers?
The government refused to own what they've done.
When W5 continues.
It's the Mefloquine dream.